Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's how-to series lesson of introduction to first-time home buying or just home buying in general. If you're going through the process, there's 1,000 questions that could be asked, and it's very, very, very complicated to remember everything. So I'm hoping this gives you a foundation so that if your goal in 2022 is home ownership, that we can move you one step closer to making that goal a reality. So let me go ahead and share my screen for you, and got a nice little PowerPoint put together that we'll go over. Make sure, I hope you guys can see this. If not, let me just double check. There you go. You guys should be able to see my screen. So welcome to the introduction to the home buying process. We're going to go over a lot of information today. Feel free to review this video as many times as you want. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. You're more than welcome to ask me any questions that might arise throughout this entire course. So let's begin. So first off, oops, double click there. My name is Tim Veigle. I am a realtor with Watson Realty Corp. I've been doing real estate for about 7 years now. I'm local, graduated Lake Howell High School and University of Central Florida. My degree with UCF is in marketing. I was a manager at AT&T, where I worked from 1998 to 2014, and then did a career change to real estate and never looked back. Now, I'm also very big into wanting to help people and volunteer. I volunteer for my business fraternity, overseeing about 12 chapters in Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana. And I speak at different fraternity-wide events that we hold. I was the past president of the Casselberry Chamber of Commerce during 2020. Yay, COVID year. And built a foundation for the annual golf tournament that they currently hold. Now, I also volunteer with my son. He's 6, so you can imagine that's a very active time frame for a 6-year-old. Coaches his basketball and track and field. I attend his soccer games, and I support him in his efforts to be a Cub Scout. So that's a little bit about me. Now, let's go ahead. Owning versus renting. Many people think renting is better. Some people think owning is better. And it's really a perspective game. But there's a few things that owning gives you that renting does not. One, owning helps you build wealth. What I mean by that is it's a forced savings plan. Every month when you pay rent, you don't see that money come back to you. When you pay your mortgage, you are paying down the amount you owe on that home. And at the same time that you're doing that, your home is appreciating based off market conditions. So you're constantly making money, the asset that you own. And I know some people are like, well, I don't want to pay a mortgage. Well, if you're paying rent, you're paying a mortgage. It's just not yours. So it increases security. Have you ever been in a situation where you're renting a home and bam, the owner decides to sell it and you have to move? Well, you don't have to do that when you own a home. If you're going to sell, you're making that decision, not someone else. And then, of course, there's ownership pride. You do work and certain things in your house that you like and you enjoy. And then when it's all complete and those projects are done, you look at it and you're like, wow, this is awesome. So you really take pride in it. It really helps build that positive lifestyle for you. Now, let's go ahead and take a look. Step 1 of the process is find a realtor. And this is very important. You should talk to the realtor, interview them, see if it's someone that you like, someone that's knowledgeable. Now, there's certain questions you can ask a realtor while you're interviewing them, and I recommend it. One question that people always like to ask is, how long have you been doing it? That's not my favorite question. And I'm not saying that because if you ask me and I say 7 years, and you ask Sally Joe and she says 30 years, that makes her look better, it's because it could be deceiving. Because Sally Joe might have only done 3 transactions a year, while I'm averaging 27 transactions a year. So there's a big difference here between the two of us. And that's what's really important on here, is making sure that you know the difference. You know who has the experience, because lots of people have your license. Did you know that the average realtor does about 3 to 5 deals a year? So talking to Sally Joe, she's average. Talk to me, I'm doing 5 times the average. So it's experience. And it's kind of like everything changes so often in real estate. You want someone that's constantly doing transactions and learning from what's happening in the market and seeing what's in the market. Another good question is probably to find out what type of things they do with listings and buying. There's some that only work with buyers, there's some that only work with listings, and there's some that do both. And it's good because, like, if you're buying a home in today's market and you work with someone, excuse me, who does listings as well, guess what? They have an idea of what the listing side's already going to see from offer-wise, so they can help you become more competitive in that market to achieve that home. So that's a good thing. That's really good for you. Other things to do is figure out what type of support system do they have. The support system in your office is ideal, because the stronger the support system, you're not just getting one agent, a solo agent, you're getting like 10 to 15 agents from the office and the broker and the admin and experience. And that's very important for you too. Another thing is, are they available? Some will be part-time realtors, some are full-time realtors. It's good to know that, because if you're a part-time realtor, guess what? You might not be available when a home hits the market, and by the time you're off of your job, that home might already be under contract. That's just the reality of the current market we're in. So, on a full-time realtor that this is all they do, they're going to find a way to get you in the door on that home so that you have a fighting chance. And that's really all you can ask, is to have a fighting chance in this market. Now, once you find a realtor, it's all about getting pre-qualified. Okay. Some people say, why get qualified? I already know what I can afford. Just because you can afford a $1,500 a month rent does not mean that your loan will be approved for what's that purchase price. So, and it's kind of like, if you think it's $1,500 and a month, and that equates out to a $350,000 home, and I'm taking you looking at $350,000 homes, guess what? When you get pre-qualified and we try to purchase that home, and you're only approved for $250,000, now every home that you look at in the $250,000 range are not good, because you fell in love with $350,000. It's like I tell my wife all the time, she's got a champagne taste, but we're living on a beer budget. So you got to be cautious out there and know what you can afford. And in all honesty, in today's market, if you're not pre-approved before looking, chances are by the time you get that done, the home's gone already and you just wasted some of your time. So now, when it comes down to getting qualified, there's 3 types of approval for you. Pre-qualification, which the way the pre-qualification is, you tell the lender how much you make, they're going to check your credit, and they'll go off of that. But let's be honest, you're not honest on how much you make. I made $50,000. Well, you also wrote off $10,000 of it, so technically you only made $40,000. So it's not as strong of a qualification when looking for a home. The next one, which most people get, is what's called a pre-approval. This is where the lender is going to ask you for documents. You're going to provide them. So everything in there, when they say this is how much you make a year, that's because they verified it on there. Same thing with the expenses. They verified your expenses, and they're going to know everything on there. So it's a stronger letter. Chances are you'll be approved. And then the commitment letters, where literally they've already ran you through underwriting. The only thing missing in this process is the home. So your part is done. Some lenders will do that, some don't. Now, when it comes down to credit, you got your credit score, which, as you can tell based off this, the biggest pieces are payment history and amount owed. So always keep the amount owed low and the payment history. Like if you have a credit card you don't even use, don't cancel it. It can hurt your length of credit history. And then the biggest factor is really your debt to income ratio. Debt to income ratio, how much debt you have and how much monthly income you make. So, and it's going to give you a percentage. And based off that, that's how they kind of qualify you for what you can and cannot afford. So that's a good thing. Now, moving on, you got different types of loans that you can get, and they're all got their pluses and minuses. Some people say, don't use this one, don't use that one, but it doesn't matter. There's something good about it and they can work for you. It all depends on what product. And the best way when you look at loans and even look at lenders, because some people are like, well, this loan is going to be the same at no matter what lender I go to. Not always. So you should shop around lenders and check with a few just to see where you could save some money and things like that. You got to think of it like this way. These loans, you got Gatorade, and that's like your brand. And that's the brand of loan. So like FHA or conventional is your Gatorade. But under them, they have different flavors. Lemon lime, orange, fruit punch. And those are the different characteristics of what that loan product has. And what those loan product has, it varies based off what lender is selling them. So you buy it from 7-Eleven, they might have certain colors. Well, if you buy it from Wawa, they might have different colors that weren't available to you. So, and that's how you kind of look at the loan, because some people feel a loan is a loan is a loan. Not always. Now, there are certain aspects that might not be big differences, but there's others that where they are. So, and even so, like say, for example, the government lays out the minimum of what these loans can have, but each lender can have what's called an overlay and certain criteria that they're going to require based off the risk that they're wanting to take and what they can and cannot do. So the first loan we're going to talk about today is FHA. Your FHA loan is simply down, minimum amount down is 3.5% of the purchase price. So you only have to put down 3.5%. This is backed by the government. It'll have an easier approval process. So, and mortgage insurance is for the life of the loan. Now you got your VA. So if you're a veteran, it's a good loan, 0% down. It's only for veterans, no mortgage insurance. USDA, also 0% down, but only in rural areas. So therefore, if you're looking downtown Orlando, this loan doesn't qualify. If you look out in Lake County, potentially. It's a little spotty out there, but it's feasible. The conventional, 5% down, mortgage insurance until 20% is built in. So with conventional, minimum is 5% down. Now, some people are like, well, I've been told you have to save 20% to purchase. Not always. So 20% down will get you away from the mortgage insurance, but 20% down isn't the minimum to actually buy a home. You get another 5%. With the way the market's going, on a conventional, you could potentially drop your mortgage insurance next year. That's how crazy the market is with their price increases. So don't be hesitant if you don't have the full 20%. And I'll be honest, buying your first home, money is going to be very tight, but it gets easier as time goes on. Now, let's go shopping. This is what everyone wants to do. We want to go look at homes. We want to see what homes are out there, and we want to find that perfect home for you. Well, understand, what are your must-haves? What would you like to have? What are your big no's, you know? And remember, the more in-depth you are in this market with a limited inventory, it might be a little more challenging to find. So what are your must-haves? I have to be in the school district. Could be a must-have. What would you like to have? It'd be nice to have a pool, but not necessary. And what are your big no's? I cannot live on the second floor in a high-rise. So these are certain things you put in there. Now, there's certain things you might not like say, some people might be like, well, my must-have is the yard has to be fenced. Okay. And I can understand that completely. But if you find the perfect home and it matches all the buttons, would you be open to purchasing a fence? Depending on how much fencing you're putting up, it could be anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 or $5,000, depending on the type of fence, depending on how much materials you need for it. So it all varies. So are you going to pass up your dream home because there is no fence, or are you willing to invest into the fence so that you can put that final check mark on there? You know, that's what you got to decide between the must-haves. What are you willing to do to miss out on a dream home? Now, moving on, we found that home. So congratulations. In this tough inventory market, we found the right home for you. So now it comes down to writing an offer. So coming to that part, first up is the offer amount. So with the offer amount, your realtor is going to review the comps in the area and will tell you, hey, I think it's all right. This is where I think the pricing could fall. Your realtor is also going to look at market conditions and be like, but based off where the market is, that might not be the offer that you want to submit. Hold that thought. We'll come back on that part. Now, you'll have to put in what's called an escrow deposit. This is like a security deposit. Take your home off the market. Here's how much money I'm putting down. Usually 1% of the purchase price. So if it's a $300,000 home, you might be putting down a $3,000 escrow. And all that escrow does is holding the home for you. Now, when you go through the closing process, say if you have to bring $10,000 to closing, that $3,000 goes into that $10,000, leaves you with $7,000 left to bring. So you don't necessarily lose it. However, you can lose it if you back out, unless you back out for the contingencies in the contract. The first contingency is your inspection period. The contract defaults to a 15-day inspection period, but for you to be competitive, seller side has been seen usually 7 to 10. Never had a problem getting an inspector in there within 7 to 10 days. So don't stress out about shortening that period. So we want to keep that inspection period. And in that inspection period, anything that you want to check out that's important to you, do it. Then you have your financing contingency. The financing contingency, simply put, it's for your loan. So you're out there, you're getting a loan, you're processing the loan, you're jumping through all those hoops to get that loan. Yes. And if the loan falls through, you get your escrow back. If the loan doesn't fall through and you back out just because, you don't get your escrow back. And then there's the closing date. Now the closing date, some people are like, when's the closing date? Who picks that? Well, that varies. That's going to be picked between multiple parties. You're going to have a say in it. The seller will either accept what you want or decline it. And then your realtor and lender will see if it's feasible. Your lender will be like, I need 40 days. Okay, that works. Me, I'm going to be checking to make sure it's not on a weekend. It's not on a holiday, so that we can have a closing. Now, in this competitive market, for buyers to stand a chance to get their offer accepted when we're getting multiple offers, we're going to look at things. So you might have a home to where you have multiple offers. And I might say, well, I think the home's worth $400,000, but we have multiple offers. So you want to be competitive. Certain things you do to be competitive is waive the inspection period. I'm never going to tell you you should waive the inspection period. That's up to you if you want to take that risk. But if you waive the inspection period, since a major comes up, it's your home. There's nothing you can do about that. What I am going to do, though, is, I will tell you the risk factors for that. Waiving an inspection period on a 50-year-old home, a lot more risk than waiving the inspection period on a 2-year-old home. So that was just built by a builder. Now, appraisal waivers and coverages, a lot of times we've been seeing where lenders are able to get your appraisal waived, so you don't even have to worry about the appraisal. But also what some are doing is coveraging the gap. So like you might write into the offer, I'm willing to cover $20,000 above appraisal issues. So if we come in at 400,000, we're willing to go up to 420, we cover that difference. So it takes away the risk from the seller to make us stand out. And of course, one thing I definitely love to do in this market is what's called an escalatory clause. The escalatory clause is literally, our offer is 400,000. I'm willing to go up to 420, beating out all offers by $2,000. So if an offer comes in at 410, our offer bumps up to 412. We have the highest offer. That's a good thing. It also makes it where you're not arbitrarily throwing out 420. So you're saving some money on there, but it makes you competitive against other offers. So now we have an executed contract. So that's when the real work starts. So we need to deliver the escrow. Usually it's within 3 days. Then you start your loan application. The loan process is the longest, so you want to get that one moving, and we want to schedule the inspections. When you schedule the inspections, you are more than welcome to attend the inspection, and feel free to ask any questions that you have. Now, home inspection. You have the full home inspection, okay? This covers everything. Now, the full home inspection is going to be 30, 40, 50 pages, and it's going to have some scary words in it. That's a fact. But don't freak out on it. It's a home that's lived in. Unless it's brand new, you're going to have issues. So, and you just got to decide which ones are your biggest concerns and which ones are not. But the full home inspection will tell you everything I'm talking about. It'll tell you if there's debris in the gutter, and I don't recommend cleaning out the gutters as a request on an inspection. Now, you're also going to get what's called a 4-point home inspection. A 4-point home inspection is covering your AC, electrical, plumbing, and roof. This is what you provide to your insurance company. This is all they need to know when you're binding your insurance. WDO, this one is where they're looking for termites, fungus, anything that could destroy wood. Wind mitigation. The wind mitigation is basically an inspection of the roof to see if you get any credits that could lower your insurance. So this is a good thing. And then last, but definitely not least, you have your septic well inspection. If your home's on septic or well, I'd highly recommend looking into an inspection on that, especially the septic, because it's under the ground. I don't know if it's good or not. So, and cost for each of these for a full home inspection with 4-point and WDO, usually no more than $500, give or take. Septic inspections, well, we're talking about another $500 on that from a separate company. Now, home insurance, this is important. Now, when the lender's pre-approving you and they're looking at your debt to income ratio, they are assuming what your home insurance will be. So based off what they see in the market, they won't know until you do 4-point and you get your insurance binded with an insurance company. So it's important to get this process started sooner than later because it could happen. I actually had a first-time home buyer back in 2014 that didn't start this process soon enough. And I get a call from the lender 2 days out. Hey, I don't know if we're going to be able to approve them for this home because their home insurance quotes came back and it came in $800 higher than what I was anticipating. So that's an issue. That is definitely an issue. So we called around, we tried to see what we could do. We weren't able to do it. Luckily, I don't like taking no for an answer. So I point blank told the lender, hey, what can we do? So they looked into it. Well, this is what we'll do. They need to close their Best Buy credit card and pay off their credit card. And we'll do that payment and that'll put them right under the debt to income ratio, so they'll be approved. So now keep in mind when a lender says this, they don't care about it. They want you to pay off the debt, the credit card, but they don't trust you. So they're going to have you pay it through the mortgage. So he had to bring extra money to closing to pay off his $500 Best Buy credit card. So start that process early because it could help you. And also in Florida, also start it and get it binded as soon as possible because we have hurricanes, and if a hurricane's too close to Florida, insurance stops binding until it's passed. Now, lender documents. A lot of it's going to be lenders asking for documents. I need this, prove this, do that. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da. It gets rough. So it's important to get those lenders the documents as soon as you can, but also don't stress out about it. This is normal of the process. They're going to look through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and it can be rough. So now we get through that, you're approved, and we're at your final walkthrough. So during the inspection, we might have asked for some repairs. At your final walkthrough, we're going to make sure repairs are done, which is a good thing, but also make sure the home still looks relatively unscathed. Now, there's going to be times that the home might not be as clean as you like. Most new buyers are going to hire a cleaner anyway. Some sellers don't leave it as clean as they should, no matter how many times the listing agent tries to get it cleaned. But this is something that it happens, and it can be frustrating on the buyer side, but it does happen. And I've been in several homes in the last year where the sellers did not leave it as clean as the buyers would have liked it. So, but the thing that you really want to look for is you're supposed to have the refrigerator. Is the refrigerator there? Oh, it is. Good. We're good on that aspect. So just things to look for. Things that, some things you might not even have noticed before, but they're not going to be a reason to back out. Now, we're at closing day. Part of this, hopefully you've set up your utilities and have them set up to go on, because the others will have it set it off. Make sure to bring 2 forms of ID for closing. That's very important, because they might need it at closing company. And then also change your locks. That's something that I definitely think you should do, is change your locks. And also, when you change your locks, do home, after you change your locks, look into homestead exemption for the next year. That's very important too. So homestead exemption is a must. So that's where you get your tax break on property taxes. You usually can do it anywhere up to March 1st. So definitely do it. So thank you all for coming to my course. I hope you enjoyed. My next online course is going to be February 5th, where we're going to be talking about selling your home. So if you're curious what the process is selling, and even though if you might be a buyer on this one, the next one might help you to understand what goes through the mind of a seller prior to selling and what they can expect. So I'll put some links to it in my YouTube channel comment section, and I hope you guys will be able to attend. And here's a bunch of my information, so please follow me if you haven't. Also, even comment on my YouTube. Let me know if you liked the video, what you'd like to change, anything that you'd like. I'd appreciate it. So just trying to be a good resource, and I want to know how else I can better help you. So thank you all. You guys have been tremendous today, and I'll see you next month.